The Grenlec Debates, powering bright ideas.
You are watching the 10th season of the Grenlec Debates. Thank you for joining us. As you watch, please bear in mind that schools randomly pick their topics, opponents, and positions. Debate teams are challenged to convince the judges, regardless of their personal beliefs. The theme for the quarterfinals is public health and safety. Both areas continue to come under increasing focus as our nation endeavors to meet its development goals. I am Eric Williams, and I'm honored to be your chairperson. I call this House to order. The motion, be it resolved that the entitlement to benefits of the national health insurance in Grenada be proportionate to individual contributions. For the proposition, St. Joseph's Convent, Grenville. For the opposition, Westmorland Secondary. Ladies and gentlemen, the first speaker for the proposition.
Be it resolved that the entitlement to benefits of the national health insurance in Grenada be proportionate to individual contributions. Entitlement, having a right to something, Oxford Dictionary. NHI or National Health Insurance, a system of insurance benefits established by the government to cover all of the citizens of the country, businessdictionary.com. Proportionate, keeping the same relationship of size or amount to something else, Macmillan Dictionary. Contribution, a payment exacted for a special purpose, American Heritage Dictionary. Honorable judges, the moot in essence implies that what persons expect to get out of the NHI should be in relation to what they put in or what is put in on their behalf. As for Speaker, I will address the inequity involved when different contributions lead to the same entitlement and the impact of this practice on Grenada with its limited fiscal capacity, while my second speaker will highlight how the system can reflect proportionality and create a win-win situation for all. Opponents, on January 30th, the News Today reporting Honorable Nicholas Steele as projecting the commencement of the NHI by the first half of 2017, starting with a budget of $500,000. This money was to be used partly towards a national health account study, which will look at the actual total cost of healthcare in Grenada divided by the individuals to find the cost per person. The actual costing would be dependent on the seed investment, which in turn will affect the basket of services to be provided. According to Minister of Implementation with responsibility for NHI, Honorable Emmeline Pierre, Grenadians do not want a scheme that becomes a burden on the average citizen. Very interesting, honorable judges. Interesting when we already know that the workers, especially the lower and middle income earners, are the ones that will be mostly affected as always. Interesting when whether it be taxes or some form of national sacrifice, as in the case of the structural adjustment program, these are the ones who suffer the most. Notwithstanding, the lower and middle income earners are the ones who in most cases do not qualify for government programs. After paying bills, mortgages, school fees, and food, many of the so-called middle class are really the indigents. Should others who contribute little or nothing get to enjoy the same slice of pie? No, we are saying you get what you put in. No bank or credit union will give you more interest than what your capital deserves. Honorable judges, social solidarity must not replace actuarial fairness. Country benefits must match individual contributions. Can you imagine the competition for services from persons who contributed little while still draining manpower and scarce resources? The World Health Organization, WHO, affirms that health constitutes more than just the absence of disease or illness, but includes the achievement of total physical, social, and well-being. To understand this is to understand that healthcare is a responsibility that must be invested in. The greater the investment, the greater the return. No one puts in $20 top up and expects to get $15. In his book, Affordable Excellence, How to Create and Manage Sustainable Healthcare Systems, William Hazeltine observed that when people have to spend their own money, they tend to be more economical in the solution they pursue for their medical problems. If someone else is paying, there is little incentive to be wise in decisions about how many and which tests and treatments are appropriate for a given situation. Now, if we give everyone the same entitlement benefits, then we are saying to those who contribute little, there is no need to work hard and move another level or higher levels, as we disregard the efforts made by those who contribute more, devaluing their efforts. Is this the type of society we wish to create? Honorable judges, we can do better. The entitlement to benefits of the National Health Insurance in Grenada must be proportionate to individual contributions. Thank you.
Let's welcome the first speaker for the opposition.
Be it resolved that the entitlement to benefits of the National Health Insurance in Grenada be proportionate to individual contributions. As members of the opposition, my colleagues and I are indisputably against this moot. Mr. Chairman, distinguished judges, fellow colleagues, worthy opponents, good morning. I stand before you here today, honored to engage in a friendly discourse on this timely issue. As the first speaker of the opposition, we reject all definitions previously articulated by the proposition, and we will gladly provide our own. This is to erase any fallacies carefully crafted by our learned proposition intended to deceive you into believing that the entitlement to benefits of the National Health Insurance should be proportionate to individual contributions. I shall likewise discuss the purpose and importance of the National Health Insurance, as well as the country's responsibility to offer same to all its citizens. My colleague, the second speaker, shall solidify our argument by discussing the implications of limited national health insurance coverage in Grenada. Throughout this debate, the following terms shall be referenced: entitlement, benefits, proportionate, and contribution. Thus, each will be explicitly defined. Cambridge Dictionary defines entitlement as something that you have the right to do or have. Benefit, according to Collins English Dictionary, is an allowance paid by the government as for sickness, unemployment, etc., to which a person is entitled under Social Security or the National Insurance Scheme. Oxford Learner's Dictionary defines proportionate as increasing or decreasing in size, amount, or degree according to changes in something else. Merriam-Webster's Dictionary defines contributions as a payment such as levy or tax imposed by military, civil, or ecclesiastical authorities, usually for a special or extraordinary purpose. As the proper foundation has been well laid, we shall build our argument thereupon. We, the opposition, are persuaded that the entitlement to benefits of the National Health Insurance should not be proportionate to individual contributions, for the proposition to assert otherwise is outlandish. Mr. Chairman, to better appreciate the need for a national health insurance in Grenada, a global outlook is critical. The 1948 Universal Declaration of Human Rights asserts many human rights, and the right to health is no exception. The 1946 Constitution of the World Health Organization states the enjoyment of the highest attainable standard of health is one of the fundamental rights of every human being, without distinction of race, religion, political belief, economic, or social condition. Fellow audience, it is crystal clear. There is a global mandate that everyone has a right to health. Worthy opponents, these international declarations must be reflected in national policies. The proposed national health insurance works in tandem with this global outlook. In a 2017 press conference, Member of Parliament, Honorable Emmeline Pierre, the Minister of Implementation, posits the goal of establishing national health insurance is to ensure that every child, every woman, every man in Grenada has access to a basket of services. Fellow audience, the right to health contains entitlement to a system of health protection providing quality of opportunity for everyone. Even the National Pledge promotes unity, justice, and equality for all. Indeed, it is all about accessibility, distinguished judges. Every Grenadian must have access to oral health care, maternity care, inpatient and outpatient services, as outlined by the National Health Insurance. To deprive citizens of their right to health because of individual contributions would reduce our government to being practitioners of social Darwinism, where only the strong survive. In this case, only those who pay have access. Shame on you, worthy opponents. Fortunately, National Health Insurance Coordinator David Stan-Philip confirms the National Health Insurance is intended to be a non-discriminatory initiative. We, the opposition, are persuaded that it is a country's responsibility to provide health care for all. That includes the most vulnerable, the chronically ill, the elderly, and those who are unable to work. For this reason, to assist the government in fulfilling its responsibility, financial contributors like the Pan American Health Organization have committed financially to this venture. Worthy opponents, I dare say, have a heart. The citizens of Grenada cannot be denied access to these benefits on the basis of their contribution to the national health insurance. Therefore, we, on this side, are convinced that the entitlement to benefits of the national health insurance should not be proportionate to individual contributions. I thank you.
The second speaker for the proposition will continue his team's case.
Good morning, all. We stand firmly by our definitions and position and denounce the argument put forward by our opponent. Honorable judges, due to the limited fiscal space of our citizenry, we cannot support an NHI designed to take, and not give back based on what was taken. We cannot afford for some persons to bear the brunt of this program under the guise that the strong must take care of the weak. Thus, we submit to this platform, to the NHI team and to the government of Grenada that any NHI put in place should reflect fairness, sustainability, and affordable health care for all, and promote an entitlement to benefit that is proportionate to individual contributions. Only then can we create a culture that truly understands the meaning of hard work and an appreciation for fiscal responsibility. Honorable judges, in light of this, we propose a system to reflect proportionality to the benefits of all. We are tempted to say that if we all expect the same benefits, then we should pay the same low price. Then our opponents will argue that such a system will be difficult to sustain in the long run. Yes, that may be. However, we submit that a system that embraces social solidarity and actuarial fairness will have different levels or ceilings based on individual contributions. In this way, if a person falls in a lower level of contribution, then their ceiling is lower. They are entitled to less than a person who falls in a level of higher contribution. Their ceiling would be higher. This in no way means that the lowest level is unsatisfactory, but that persons would have to operate with the mindset that in order to get to a higher ceiling, they would need to contribute more. This would motivate them to work towards increasing their earnings potential. Like Singapore, our healthcare system must be enshrined in the principles of self-reliance, individual and family responsibility. It simply cannot reflect the welfare system of countries like the US and Germany. It must also be more effective than the NHI of our neighbors Antigua and the BVI, which continuously see challenges with the complaints from the populace that they are constantly under the strain to the cost of healthcare and the increasing cost of living. Their incomes are unfairly targeted due to the excuse that they work for more so they can afford. While these systems have their advantages, it is their inability to truly tackle affordable healthcare that makes us shudder. The intention, honorable judges, is that we create a society that is motivated to climb its way out of poverty and dependency on others. Our government must be innovative and interested in improving the lives of citizens, giving not handouts, but hand-ups. Persons who contribute little and still expect the same as someone who contributes more is not motivated enough to move to a higher level. The government should be steering them out of poverty by providing the educational and employment opportunities and promoting a healthy lifestyle so that these persons can also afford to pay the same premiums as others and be entitled to the same benefits. If we are to go on the WHO's premise that healthcare is based on practical, scientifically sound, and socially acceptable methods and technology at a cost that the country and community can afford in the spirit of self-reliance and self-determination, we must accept that the entitlement to benefits be proportionate to individual contributions. I thank you.
Presenting the second speaker for the opposition.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I stand in opposition to the moot. Be it resolved that the entitlement to benefits of national health insurance in Grenada be proportionate to individual contributions. My first speaker clearly outlined the need for healthcare to be accessible to all citizens. But what good is accessibility without the element of affordability? In a 2017 Now Grenada article, Chief Health Planner at the Ministry of Health, Clement Gabriel, affirms that health is considered to be one of the main pillars for economic growth. Indeed, our country's wealth is its health. We salute countries like Cuba for the fantastic health services provided to its people. Grenada now has the opportunity to do likewise. In an article titled The Significance of National Health Insurance, Member of Parliament Honourable Emlyn Pierre confirms that the National Health Insurance aims to make proper healthcare more accessible and more affordable. Fellow audience, in a 2012 Health in the Americas report, the poverty line for Grenada under the country's poverty assessment in 2008 was $2,164 per adult per year, equivalent to almost 6,000 EC dollars. The report further states that the unemployment rate is at 24.9%. Worthy opponents, how can poverty-stricken persons suffering with chronic illnesses such as cancer afford a single chemotherapy treatment at the General Hospital, estimated at 28,000 EC dollars? Currently, under the National Insurance Scheme, voluntary contributors as an unemployed person can still pay 6.75% in NAS contributions to access minimal benefits. With National Health Insurance, if a person cannot pay, where does that leave them? Dorset Cromwell, Deputy Director of NIS, assures us that experts like Canadian actuary Monroe Chappelle and the University of the West Indies Health Economic Unit have been consulted to design a system to ensure the sustainability of this venture, even if everyone does not pay the same amount. It is evident disproportionate health insurance will exclude the lowest echelon of our society from accessing affordable health benefits. No wonder social inequalities continue to rise, for in everything we speak unity, but in practice we promote segregation and exclusion. Mr. Chairman, even the good book encourages us to be our brother's keeper. Worthy opponents, I am sure you're aware of the countless stories of persons whose death could have been avoided if only they could have afforded the requisite health service. I am quite certain the proposition has witnessed firsthand the surge in motorcades island-wide soliciting donations for a sickly child or adult. Is the proposition suggesting that those who cannot afford the requisite health service Is the proposition suggesting that those who cannot afford health benefits just simply die in silence? With all doubts erased, we reinforce that the entitlement to benefits of national health insurance should not be proportionate to individual contributions. I therefore rest my case.
During the cross-examination, one speaker from each side will take turns questioning each other about issues that are relevant to the motion.
Worthy opponents, your first speaker mentioned that if healthcare were to be beneficial to all, no matter the contribution that they put in, that it would be a burden on the lower income half of our society. I ask you, how can this be a burden to them if it benefits all?
There is a difference between entitlement to benefits and actually getting the benefits. If one person will have to pay for everybody else, you're putting a strain on them because you have to say that one person be paying more than somebody else and then putting a strain on the lower caste.
But it's everybody paying for everybody, and everybody benefits from this system.
Yes, and everybody is going to benefit from the system, but you cannot want to put a burden on one person to pay more for somebody else.
The same way one person would pay for another, the other would pay for the same person. There is no guarantee that your medical expenses will never be higher than the contributions you put in. Therefore, always having some more income to rely on to help pay off your health
Yes,
bills.
but paying it means that you're going to be entitled to a certain amount. So if you put in money, then you'll be entitled to get the money that you put in.
You will always be entitled to the amount of healthcare that you need. That is what our country is trying to do, to provide healthcare for all of its citizens.
Yes, you'll be entitled to what you put in.
All right. Your first speaker also mentioned that those that do not contribute should not be able to have the same slice of pie as those that do contribute. Does this not encourage a selfish and idealistic Grenadian society?
No, my opponent, it encourages for the lower class to build up and to improve and to try and get higher in the economy to be able to pay for for their health care.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Saying that it helps, it motivates them to go ahead and to improve and to try to become better and be higher up in the economy.
But the many Grenadian citizens living today without coverage from private health insurance, for instance, that they cannot afford. The fact that they cannot afford this health insurance has not motivated them thus far to work harder to be able to afford this health insurance. Therefore, how can you guarantee that the national health insurance being proportional to the amount of contributions you give in will motivate them to work harder?
Yes, because in this case, then it is mandatory for them to go ahead and to pay for the insurance. And if you see somebody else getting something hard, and wouldn't you want to work hard to get something that they have?
If our Grenadian citizens are living with no insurance at all, then I do not believe that having little insurance will inspire them to work harder.
My opponent, what justification is there for basing contributions on income?
Pardon?
What justifications is there for basing contributions on income?
There's no justification for basing your contributions on your income. That is why we are here saying that you should not be, the benefits that you gain from the national health insurance should not be proportionate to your contributions.
But my opponent, for everything that goes on, you have to put the amount of money that you put in, that is the amount of thing that you're going to receive.
I'm sorry, could you speak louder?
The amount of money that you put in, that is what you receive, my opponent. That is how the system is.
That is how the system is, but that is not how the system should be. The way it is now, the amount of money that you put in, the amount of money that you get back, is not able to allow all Grenadians to access and afford the healthcare that they need to survive.
Yes, my opponent, but then the government could pitch in and help out those who cannot afford everything as well. The government could pitch in to help out those who cannot afford as much as everybody
If the government
else.
is supplementing any money that they may need, then you are agreeing with us by saying that the benefits you gain from healthcare should not be proportionate to the contributions that you put
No,
in.
my opponent, it should be proportionate. The government is putting in on their behalf to get so that their entitlements
Opponents,
increase.
if you are getting more than you put
increase.
in from any source of income, that includes other people in the society and the government, then you are not gaining the benefits equal to the amount that you put in.
No, my opponent, you are entitled to the benefits that you are entitled to benefits for the amount of money that you put in. Since contributions are proportionate to income, shouldn't the entitlement to benefits be proportionate to the contributions?
Could you say that again, please?
Since contributions are proportionate to income, shouldn't the entitlement to benefits be proportionate to the contributions?
The entitlement to benefits should not be apportioned to contributions. Once more, I say this, because the Grenadian society's contributions, most of the people in the society cannot afford the healthcare that they need. Grenadians do not choose to get diagnosed with cancer or get into car accidents. And these events in hospital and in many doctors and clinics around the country have a large income price.
Why should I be putting in a lot of money and you put in a little bit of money and I get in the same benefits as you?
Pardon?
Why should I be putting in a lot of money and you put in a little bit of money and we get the same entitlement to benefits?
Because the government is doing what it can to allow all Grenadian citizens to afford and access the healthcare that it needs.
But that is unfair.
By doing this, we are promoting the heads, hearts, and hands in unity that is in our anthem.
Yes, but that is unfair to the persons who put in a lot of money, don't you think?
I do not think so. Because the same way the person that puts in a lot of money will gain benefits.
The rebuttal speaker for the opposition is expected to pull apart the proposition's case and point out areas of weakness.
In the words of Thomas Carlyle, he who has health has hope, and he who has hope has everything. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. As the rebuttal speaker for the opposition, I will refute the claims made by the opposition, the proposition, and put to rest any confusion that the entitlement to national health insurance should not be proportionate to individual contributions. Your second speaker stated that the system proposed was unsustainable. This is not the case, as Dorset Cromwell has consulted experts in Canada to make a system that is sustainable in the long run. In the words of Mahatma Gandhi, as an eye for an eye will only make the whole world blind. We believe that in regards to basic health care, the haves can subsidize for the have-nots. Irrespective of your contributions, everyone should have access to the same basket of services. Our own anthem states that we should aspire, build, and advance as one people. We have to come together and implement national health insurance for all, as denial of health care to people in need based on their contributions will leave blood on the hands of our policymakers and even the burden of deaths on their shoulders. Having clarified our position on the moot, we rest our case.
The proposition's rebuttal speaker will close the match.
Good morning, all. We stick to our definitions. Your first speaker stated that everyone has the right to have access to health and that we cannot deprive anyone from this right. My opponents seem convinced that persons who are in poverty or unemployed will be denied health care. However, we are saying that persons in such situations will have contribution paid on their behalf by them, be it by the government or spouse. Also, government should promote healthy lifestyles, provide jobs, create educational opportunities in order to allow persons who are in poverty or are in a lower class to have the sense of self-reliance. Your first speaker would have also encouraged us to have a heart. But my opponents, you're overlooking the fact that we all contribute to healthcare through income. Opponents, we must promote actuarial fairness. The compensation received must be equivalent to the premiums paid. Your second speaker stated that we cannot exclude the poor and that we cannot leave those who cannot afford to die. Opponents, again I say that someone, whether the government or a spouse, will pay for them. We are not excluding them. They will still receive benefits. However, the benefits will not be the same as someone who are contributing more. This in turn will motivate the poor to find a source of income to put in more contributions. Give a man a fish, feed him for a day. Teach them to fish, feed him for a lifetime. As Honorable Emily Pearce says, everyone will get a basket of services. However, it will not be the same, it will not be in the same amount, thus making it proportionate. Thank you.
It has been my pleasure to host you. Please tune in for complete coverage of the 2017 Grenlec Debates.
The Grenlec Debates. Vote for your favorite debater on our Facebook page. The Grenlec Debates. Powering bright ideas.